Welcome to a very special episode of the Powerful One podcast. This is the year anniversary episode, and I am so excited to share this with you guys. Basically, what we're going to do is a recap of some of the different episodes from Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and we're just going to go through some of the amazing stories and some of the amazing things that I've learned from these amazing and powerful guests. So in the first clip here, I am joined with Marino Duran and Eddie Nunez, two of my great friends. Two people that I look up to not only as friends and peers, but as mentors. And in this clip, Marino talks about the 6 human needs. So he details these in depth and how we fulfill these human needs and how we seek them in our everyday lives, even when we don't know we're doing so. So part of why Marino is going over the 6 human needs is because this is something that Tony Robbins preaches all the time, and Marino has had the pleasure of not only going to and being part of the Tony Robbins seminars, but also being able to go there and volunteer. And he says it's the number one thing that he would recommend everyone do, and he said it's the best thing he's ever done in his life. So here it is, guys. Clip with Marino Duran from episode 4.
So the 6 human needs, they're inherently paradox of one another, right? So you have certainty, uncertainty. You have connection and significance. So the first two are obvious, right? Like you want to feel certain, but you also want to feel uncertain. Like, what the hell? Right? There's this like, but the thing is, if you get too much certainty, what happens? You get bored.
Right.
If you know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, every single day, you're just like, fuck this is boring. I don't want to do this anymore. You want a little uncertainty. You want a little variety in there, right? Not too much variety because then you'll freak out, right? Then becomes a problem.
Right.
So there's a balance between the two, right? And so each person, if you think about it as a spectrum, each person is somewhere along that spectrum where for them, if they're there, they're in a good place. They're not too certain, but they're not too freaked out. They're in the middle. And things happen in life that kind of shift you back and forth. And then you try to control them, get them fixed so that you can feel it. All right, I'm good. I'm certain again. Same thing happens if something happens. The doctor says, hey, you got to come in. We got to do all this work, whatever. What are you looking for in that moment? Certainty. You're like, what's going on? Can we beat this? Everything else. And so then you try to do things to get yourself, you take the medication, take the pills, you work out, you do everything you need to get until you feel certain, okay, I got it all under control, right? And then you go back to normal life, and then things start to happen and kind of push you in either direction. Then you have significance and loving connection. If you have absolute loving connection with someone, after a while, you're just like, am I my own person? Everything I do is with this person. It's just like, everything's all about this, right? So you're like, I want to be unique, right? It makes you significant by having a special skill, being really good at something. It makes you significant. Like, this person is so talented at that one thing, whatever. But then you don't feel like you can connect with other people because they just don't understand, right? So there's this balance between the two, right? And so then people exist somewhere on that continuum, if you will. So they're inherently paradoxes of one another, but they need to be, because they make life interesting, right? Because if you were just on one side and you didn't get bored and you just always had certainty, like you wouldn't have a great life,
right?
So you look for things to fulfill those things in that moment. So here's the breakthrough: all of your needs are met through the perceptions that you have about life, based on the meanings that you associate to things. Is it possible that something can happen and you can perceive that as complete uncertainty, risk-taking, whatever, and I can perceive that entirely different, and I can say, no, I feel good in this place because I know that I can consolidate this into something good, right? So that would mean that our fulfillment of our needs is independent of what's happening in the real world.
Wow, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are there people that are miserable in great weather? Are there people that are happy in freezing cold weather, right? They go skiing, they're having a blast. And then you take them to Florida and they're like, I'm fucking sweating, I hate it here. And then there are people that go there and they're like, this weather is beautiful.
Right.
What's the difference? The meaning that they associate to things. Which means that nothing out there can fulfill your needs. You're the one who fulfill your own needs. So when it comes to loving connection, can you connect and love yourself? Can you make yourself feel important in your own life? Can you create certainty when there is uncertainty? And the last two, which are the spiritual needs, which are growth and contribution, we grow so that we can give more. If you can do that, which you have complete control of, you will live an absolute abundant and rich life.
Powerful stuff right there by Marino, guys. When Marino was talking about this during the podcast, it blew my mind, and I was able to look back on what he said and realize that, that is what we're craving in life, is whether it's this balance of certainty or uncertainty or significance, love and connection. And it really ties into almost all of the aspects, if not all of life. And so really powerful stuff right there from Marino. And in the next clip for you guys, we have Elise Marin. Elise has a super successful YouTube channel where she details her glow up journey. And in this clip, she talks about there never being an end. She talks about just being resilient and failing and trying and then keep growing and just being able to improve each day and each time that you fail. She also talks about that everything happens for a reason and staying positive through every situation, even when things seem tough, trying to see the positives in every situation and know that there's going to be good to come from that. So here it is, guys, clip with Elise Marin. Enjoy.
Talking about like one of my YouTube videos, when I made the first 2 glow up videos, my third one, I don't know if you ever saw it or not, the third one was about me like falling off the tracks again. So like I was doing super well, and then I just like gained a bunch of weight back and like it started all over again. But that was a thing that people liked about the video. They're like, that's cool because it shows, like I talked about earlier, there is no end. Like you can always fall back off the track, but then that's fine because you get right back on. And that's what I talked about in the third video. And it was really important to me that I did have those failures because it just made me 10 times better. I'm like, all right, I did well, failed. Okay, but what can I do better? And now I'm better than I was at the beginning. So failure is super important.
Absolutely. I love that you said that. Yeah, I think it's super important. Is there anything that helps you keep a good perspective and understand that there's rewards and positives and failures? Is there anything that helps you with that?
Oh, well, because I think everything happens for a reason. And honestly, I choose to stay positive because if I don't, then I think I'm putting like negative energy out in the universe. And I am such a believer of like manifesting your dreams into reality and stuff, because I just think that stuff works, because that's what I just did with YouTube, and that's what I do with my glow up. Is I'm like, I just kept like manifesting, like just kept like replaying things in my head over and over again until it like became real. So yeah, I choose to not put those negative thoughts in my head, because I think that that's going to put like bad energy out in the universe. I know it might sound weird, some people might not believe in that, but I don't know, I just think it's a whole mindset thing. Like maybe something bad could happen and something bad might come out of this, but I think in the end something good always does come out of something bad. And so I just choose to like stay as positive as I can. And it will honestly, it just makes me depressed how I used to be.
Yeah.
Stuff is like just had a very unhappy mindset. So I just choose to, imagine, the future and like imagine bright things and happiness instead of always being so like dark and angry and like thinking the worst of everything. I just try to think the best and try to, maintain that positivity. So
I could not agree more with what Elise said right there. There is no end goal. It is all about the journey and just trying to stay positive and see the good in every situation. So very powerful stuff from Elise. And in the next clip, I am joined with one of my best friends since 7th grade, Kevin Liles, who is a rapper, producer. He makes music. And in this clip, Kevin tells a really funny story about the first time, his first experience making music. He also talks about taking action and just putting your stuff out there. And I think that's a common theme that we see a lot in Powerful One, is that people take action, man. Like people just, trust yourself and put it out there. And that's a lot of what Kevin talks about, is trusting yourself, taking action, and being careful of the people you listen around you, and just trusting in your own inner voice. So here it is, guys. Clip with Kevin Liles.
I got like a funny story. I was making music, sent it to my dad, sent one of the songs to my dad, and he calls me. Literally, like, I haven't sent him no music. This is the first song I've ever sent him, like 2 years ago. Sent him the song, like, what do you think about this? Like, I want to put it out, I want to do a video, I want to do all this other stuff. And he literally calls me and was like, put it out.
Damn.
So it's so I'm like, all right, I mean, I guess I'm going to put it out. Like, I'm calling, but the thing is, I'm like calling him thinking he's going to do something, but like at the end of the day, I got to put it out. Like, naturally, like a hit will become a hit on its own. Like, it's not, I mean, you got to put money behind stuff, market stuff, but like, basically just put it out. So anybody out there, you got a podcast, whatever, just put it out. I mean, obviously make sure it's quality. Obviously make
Right.
sure it's what you want it to be and it's your brand. But
Absolutely.
put it out at some point. Put it out because you never know. Like I said, Lil Nas X never knew that song would make him millions.
Right, and what if he didn't put it
never
out?
know. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So you gotta watch who you listen to too, because
Absolutely.
you guys gotta balance it. And you gotta have like your own voice in your own head, and you know what's right in your own head. But it's good to listen to other people too.
Yeah. Awesome story and personal experience right there from Kevin, and I completely agree with him, and just like taking action and trusting and believing in yourself to put it out there and just take a chance on yourself. So really great stuff. And in the next clip, I'm joined with Dan Peterson, the owner of Flip Switch Media, and also Dan Peterson, his personal brand. This is a very powerful clip. We talk a lot about schooling. We talk a lot about how people really don't know what they want to do coming out of high school and oftentimes coming out of college, and how there's so many different things that they need to try to like experience and do and just like learn about themselves before they can jump into the world and discover. And so Dan and I had similar but also different experiences with that, and so we just talk a lot about schooling and how it might not be the best idea to go to college, and how there's so much that we need to learn about ourselves and do before we find out what we want to do the rest of our lives. So very good clip, guys. Here it is with Dan Peterson. Enjoy.
I guess, I don't think anybody really knows, or 90% of people don't know what they're going to do when they get out of school, out of like high school or even college in a lot of cases. I'm not a big proponent of going to college right out of high school. I think that there's a lot of growing up that needs to be done, a lot of experimentation, a lot of travel and things like that, where you just need to find yourself and find what you want to do. I had a great upbringing. I had a great everything. But looking back at it, it's like, man, there's so many things that people need to do and try to do and learn about themselves before they decide what they want to do for a living. And they just need to follow their passion and be happy. That's the big thing. So
Dude, exactly.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, man. I think that's so huge. Is like just at least for people, at the young age, because I'm in the same boat as you, man. Like I never knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what I didn't enjoy to a point, but I didn't really know what I did enjoy. I knew I didn't like school, and so I think that's really cool. Is just getting people to realize that there's other options, right? It seems like people assume that college has to be this inevitable thing, and so I'm really curious, and I really like that that's the path you're going, because I definitely relate and have a similar vision for just wanting to educate people on just following their passion and really, like, my logo, the dividing themselves from the pack and finding what they enjoy.
And that's kind of the point of what I'm trying to do too, is teach people or tell people that, going back to what I said, you don't really know what you're going to do. Most people don't.
Right.
When they're young, and you shouldn't. Like, go out and experience things and taste things and figure it out, and know how to read yourself and understand what you like, what you don't. Like, a big thing that you just said was you knew what you weren't good at. Like,
Right.
that's huge. That is really, really huge, to have that introspection and be able to say, you know what, I really hate math, and I'm with you.
In the next episode, I'm joined by one of my mentors, Mike Stewart. This is an episode I was super, super excited for, and it turned out really great. In this clip, Mike talks a lot about taking action. Mike is huge on taking action. That's a huge reason that I've been big on taking action, so surrounding myself with Mike. He also talks about how imperfect action beats a perfect plan. Taking action, that's a quote that I use all the time to tell people, and I got that from Mike. He also talks about just stacking bricks every day to get better at life, to get better at your job, to get better at whatever it is, and just stack a brick every day, one by one day at a time. He also talks about the best ways to make money and the best ways to create a business around helping people, and ultimately that being the best way to make money, and a lot of stuff like that. So really great clip here for you guys. Enjoy with Mike Stewart.
If you're working on something, if you have something you really like, you know what it's like to not have that, right? So look into your future. Do you want the next 5, 10, 15 years of your life to continue down that same pattern? Because just by diverging the stream just a little bit, man, you could really change the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, think about if someone like Steve Jobs never pulled the trigger.
Right.
And it's just like, well, I guess I'll just keep working for these people, and one day I'll get around to my idea. Well, again, imperfect action beats a perfect plan. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the perfect, day? Are you waiting for the perfect month? Are you waiting for the perfect This does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And entrepreneurship and business and whatever, success in anything, it's a moving target, man. Like the problems that I have now in business dwarf the problems that I had 10 years. Dude, I mean, I was worried about, my biggest issue back then was paying like $4,000 a month in rent. And I would stress about that. I wish that was the only thing I had to worry about now. Man, it's just like a mountain of bullshit, it feels like sometimes. But it used to feel like, man, this is insurmountable. Like, how am I ever gonna do that? Now it's just like, you know what, man, every day, and this is something else. This is why peers and mentors are good. There's something else my other friend Nick Keller says. Every day I just stack a brick. Just stack one brick to the top every day.
Yeah.
As long as you're stacking your bricks up, dude, and you're doing that regularly and consistently over time, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And you gotta have a good idea too. I mean, I hear a lot of ideas and I'm like, dude, no one's gonna want that. You know, and you're talking about some people just get worthless degrees and wonder why they're poor. And it's like, I found a direct correlation that you have to find a product or a service that helps people.
Yeah.
And the more that it helps people, the more money you get.
Yeah.
Like a good example is if you drop dead right now from a heart attack and you start clutching your chest, if I go out there and somebody's a doctor, I'd pay them. I'd be like, how? They're like, it's gonna be, you know, $50,000 to save your boy Tommy here. I mean, I'm not gonna not do that. So I'd be like, shit, okay, because it's that much valuable. Yeah. Billie Jean talks about this. If you haven't looked into Billie Jean marketing, he's really good.
Okay. Yeah.
And Billie Jean was like, he said, but if I have to clean my house after a party, I'm paying you whatever minimum wage is. You know what I mean? Because the market is saturated with people that can do that. Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Not everyone can save you from a heart attack. So I would suggest that people find something that helps. If you're starting with your goal is, I want a Lamborghini, I want a mansion, I want $1 million. Good luck. But if you start with your goal is, I want to help people, I want to impact my community, I want to change lives, I want to teach people to better protect themselves, I want kids to walk confidently through the hallways in schools. Yeah. I want to prevent the next fucking school shooter because I'm giving this young man an outlet that's positive to get his energy out, to get his anger and aggression and pissed off. And because we got, our young men are in crisis, you know what I mean, especially, and our daughters and young women too. We need to build them, bro, like, you know, and we get to do that, and people place high value on that.
Yeah.
So like, it all comes back to belief. I believe so much in all that stuff, and you know, I feel absolutely no guilt or shame or remorse for charging what we charge. In fact, I think it's cheap compared to what we do.
I think so too.
And, you know, could we make more money doing, because you're a great salesperson too. You picked up all the sales stuff that I taught you super fast. Yeah. Dude, you could be making much bigger commissions selling some bullshit software package, but would you really believe in that?
Right.
And would you really go to sleep being like, man, I impacted my world today, and like I helped my community? Because there's so much more than just money. I mean, listen, you need money, and you'd rather be rich than poor.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. I've never seen a sad person on a jet ski.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that. It's not going to make you fulfilled. That's for sure.
Really awesome stuff right there by Mike Stewart, my mentor. And in this next clip, I'm joined with Charley Hughes. Charley Hughes and I went to the same elementary school and the same middle school. And we talk a lot in this episode just about, and in this clip, about the private school life and kind of what we call the private school bubble, and the conformity that comes with that, and trying to break free from that and a lot of the connotations that come with growing up in a private school life. And so we talk about that. Really interesting conversation with Charley. Very well-spoken, articulate guy, and very excited to share this little piece with you guys. Here it is, clip with Charley Hughes.
It's a very kind of conformist little culture and little society. And I think when you're in it at the time and that's all you know, you don't realize what's actually out there. You don't realize that people have different styles and fashions and wear different types of clothes. You don't realize people care about different sports and have different interests and even values and belief systems. Yeah. You know, at the time, I fit into that kind of conformist culture, and I'm guilty of being one of, you know, the lacrosse guys. I wore the gear, I had the long hair, I played on some high level teams, and And I don't regret any of those experiences. I think they were good experiences. I had a lot of fun doing it. But at the time, I never considered that, maybe it was kind of like a tool of like social survival of, fitting into the crowd,
Right.
not sticking your neck out, not really going against the grain or the status quo, kind of do what's cool, do what's accepted. And that, I was part of that lacrosse culture. And I'd say that I got along with just about everybody at the time. And that was, I was a people pleaser, to say the least. Right. And looking back on it, I think it's interesting because I would agree with Charley Hughes in that it is it's a real conformist culture. We're all brought up in that little bubble. Everyone's brought up to follow a checklist, steps 1 through 10. And if you deviate from that checklist, you get funny looks. People kind of scoff at you. They laugh at you. So I think we are all, brought up to think that, you go to this nice private school, you play lacrosse, you try to get a lacrosse scholarship, make the varsity team. If that fails, then you go, find a cool fraternity, and then you join a college based on the cool fraternity. And then you drink for 4 years, and you graduate and move home, and and you fall into this routine, like you guys called it the rat race, I believe. Kind of just this cycle, and I think people are just comfortable in that high school bubble. They get comfortable. I know I was very comfortable. Something I'll talk about too. Is, I did 14 years at the same school growing up, from kindergarten through senior year, including pre-first. So I had 14 straight years in private school, which meant that I never had to change schools, change cities. I never had to really branch out and like make new friends and meet new people. So I was very comfortable. And as a result, I did well. I had fun. But looking back on that experience, I think that, and I'll talk about the culture, and this isn't specific to any one school or any one person or even group of people.
Right.
But I look at the culture that we grew up in, and I would say that it enables mediocrity, right? Mediocrity was kind of like the standard. And like I said, there isn't any one person that set this,
For sure.
set the pace or was responsible for this. I mean, if anything, maybe it's a parenting issue. If I were to, point fingers, maybe it's a parenting issue. Maybe it's peer-to-peer interactions and just kind of perpetuating this culture. But there was a culture that it enabled mediocrity. And I won't use the word like promote, because I don't think anyone like actively promotes mediocrity, right? No parent tells their child like, hey, go be a mediocre student or go be a mediocre athlete. Nobody says those things outright, but I think that we all kind of accepted it. And I think you'll agree with this, and tell me if you don't, but when we were in high school, the cool thing to do was to not care and to not try.
Yeah.
Right. That was the cool thing to do. The less you cared, the less you tried, kind of the cooler you were. And of course, then, as a result, nobody went against the status quo. Nobody, really was super passionate. And of course, there's exceptions to every rule. So, I'm making a blanket statement. There were kids that didn't play lacrosse. There were kids that had other interests and that were passionate and that did go against the grain. And maybe they took heat for it, but, and maybe we didn't even recognize it at the time. But I think it's interesting because, there is kind of this mediocrity, and I think it takes root. And, when you do excel at something or you try hard at something, you're risking criticism, negative feedback.
Yeah.
You're sticking your neck out there. And one example I'll use, which I thought about, was, we had these really good athletes that we played with in high school in all different sports. And, they wanted to get the game winning goal or the buzzer beater, right? They wanted to win the championship game, but you would have never caught them ever working really hard during practice, not in front of their friends.
Right.
And I noticed that pattern, and I thought that's really interesting. When they're at practice with all their friends, the cool thing wasn't to come in first place and win sprints. The cool thing was to come second to last. The first place guy was kind of the loser because he made everyone else look bad.
Yeah,
he was
the try hard, so to speak.
Yep, the try hard, right? So, and I think that's interesting concept. And even like, showing up early to practice. If you showed up early and you did sprints on your own, or I'm not saying it because I did these things. I wasn't some star athlete, but,
Right.
or if you stayed after practice and hit the weight room, it wasn't the cool thing to do. People looked at you like you had three heads. And like I said, I didn't hit the weight room in high school. I wasn't some star athlete, but I did notice those things in hindsight, looking back, going, wow, the people that really did put in the extra time and hours, that was the uncool thing to do, to be first place during the sprints. And my college experience was very different, which I'll touch on later. But I just thought that was interesting to look back at the culture. And I think it could, maybe it has to do with just age. Maybe it has to do with teenage guys. Like I said, it's not specific to one school. I think we saw it in every school in our system. I think you'd find it all over the country. But I think it's interesting because I think there was a fear to put yourself out there and to take those risks.
Some really great stuff from Charley right there. It was great connecting back with him and kind of being on the same page, growing up a certain way and both coming to a realization later on in life was a pretty cool moment. And so reconnecting with him was really great. And in this next clip, I'm joined with Travis Clay, one of my friends now for a couple of years, a close personal friend. And Travis and I talk a lot in this clip about the power of relationships, networking, having close people around you who are supporting you, people who aren't just yes men, but people who are looking out for your best interest. We talk about connection, not only in-person connection, but we talk about social media interaction. We talk about over the phone interactions and just the personal connection in general. So it's a really cool little clip here for you guys. The last clip of the episode with Travis Clay. Here it is. Enjoy.
And that's where I have a close network of people, right? And I think that's important too, that these are not yes people. They're going to tell me how it is, and they're kind of like my rear view mirror, right? Like I can't see it because I'm in me, but they can see it because they're outside, and they're willing to give me suggestions, that I can take or I don't have to take, but I've learned, through some pain, right, and doing things the incorrect way, that they have my best interest at heart, and I encourage your people out there to certainly have a network of friends or family or colleagues or folks, training partners that they can get real with. I think it's super important, and my wife and I believe have become closer through this whole process of just being like, man, like I am just gonna lose it today,
Yeah.
And we're able to talk each other off the ledge. But I think that's important. We're missing that connection, and I believe human connection is such a big part.
Absolutely. So how have you found that for you, and who is that for you? Like a good social group and a good group that kind of help drive you, and like you said, aren't yes man. Like who is that for you? And then also how are you able to find that? Because that's hard to come by, and I think it's so important, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, so my business coach is one. I obviously, my wife being one, and sometimes that's difficult because the two, it could be the two of us that are just butting heads, right? But she's a good one for me to just air the dirty laundry with. But I have some mentors in my life. My parents, they're always wonderful to talk to. I have some pretty cool brother-in-law that I'm pretty close with, and a new one that I've become closer with. And so there's some folks in my life that I feel comfortable enough to get real with.
Yeah.
And we built the trust up where it's wonderful that I can listen for them and they can listen for me, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be that suggestion. It could just be I just need to talk it out, right? Because sometimes when I'm just in my head, things are crazy, but when I release them out of my head, it's like, oh, that's kind of silly.
Yeah. Well, dude, that's something I feel like a lot of people are feeling like. I mean, we're social beings. Like we thrive off social interaction, just like us as humans. So I think that's cool that you have that. And I would encourage people to we have these computers in our hand, and these computers like at our fingertips to call anybody and everybody. So yeah, dude, I think, and that's something, I don't know about you, but that's something along with like reading or something like that to kind of like start the day on the right foot is like I'll honestly start the day by like FaceTiming or calling somebody with really good energy, like a friend.
Yeah.
Just like that's been such a powerful way for me to just be like motivated. Like after this, dude, I'm just gonna knock out content because I'm freaking motivated because like I'm talking to somebody with similar energy and like it's exciting. We have goals. So like I think for people too, just like having a friend that you can talk to that motivates you, that alone is huge, man. So I'm glad you have like a good network and support system like that. That's awesome.
I like you said, I like to surround myself with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So the people on my Instagram, that it's not negativity, right? It's very motivational. You'll see like Gary Vee and like Tony Robbins and a lot of these trainers. And as I scroll through, like, I'm just like you, like I start to feel energy,
Right,
from things.
That is it for the year anniversary episode. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end. I really appreciate your support, not only for me, not only for Powerful One, but also all the guests on this platform, and just tuning in and being inspired and being powerful, man. So, thank you again if you watched this, and excited for the future. Excited. It's been a great year for Powerful One. Excited for everything I have coming in the future, everything with the brand, everything with my personal brand, and just everything in general. So just want to thank you guys again, and be sure to share this if it inspired you, if it felt powerful, if you connected with it. Share it with your friends, share the platform. Please go, if you don't mind, go subscribe on YouTube, go write a review on iTunes. All that stuff really means a lot. Thank you guys again, and be sure to stay tuned because every week we are coming out with a new podcast episode. Stay locked into the page, guys. Thank you. Stay powerful.